You're probably going to need to share your screen, aren't you? Okay, let me log off and log back on in a different way. Give me just a second. Okay. Morning, everyone. Sometimes I log on here through the calendar invite and it doesn't register that I'm the host, and therefore I can't let people share their screen. So that's what was just happening when I logged on and logged back off. Anyway, good morning, everyone. Does it feel like Friday to anyone else? Maybe I'm just like extra ready for Friday this week, but welcome. Thanks for being here. Today we are hearing from Miss Emily Cornforth, and she is teaching us how to market ourselves. So over to you, Em.
Awesome, thanks. I hope everyone's doing well. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. Rosie, when I share my screen, typically I can't see anything else. So if you'll just say like thumbs up, here we go, we'll be good. Let's see here. Oops, hold on. And share. Desktop, right, Rosie?
Yeah.
I think so, yeah. All right, let's get over here. All right, we all good? Yeah.
Looks great.
Okay, I'm gonna do that. All right, guys. So I've done this once before. Actually, it was a little less than a year ago, and I absolutely love this. I feel like I talk about leads and social media and all those things, and it all kind of goes into this, but I'm just super pumped to chat with you guys about marketing and breaking it down kind of to be a little bit more organized for you guys. So why can't it? There we go. Okay. So kind of like this rooftop view, it's kind of like Platt and what the brokerage is doing for you guys. And then yourself. A lot of times people think marketing like, oh, I've got to spend money. You also need to kind of focus, especially what I found in real estate, is you need to focus on yourself too. You're your own personal brand. So we'll talk about that a little bit. And then my megaphone is the actual like true marketing and advertising components. So the brokerage, I really kind of broke this down into two different spaces. One, brokerage marketing, like what are we doing? I get asked that quite a bit. And quite honestly, it's like an ever growing, ever pivoting space. But for the brokerage, we kind of focus our efforts. Facebook and Instagram, as you guys know, are like our true like social media channels that we use most often. I'd love to get more into like the LinkedIn space. I think that would be really great. But for right now, we're kind of staying in these two spaces. As we talk about Facebook and Instagram, though, it's not just like what you guys see front facing is all the listings that we post. And just as like a quick reference point there, because there are a lot of new folks on the call as well, we will post anything right now on Facebook and Instagram that is what we call 100% on brand. So when you think like we are for the city, it's the city of Indianapolis. We post like we're looking for like really amazing photos, beautiful just like listings is what we're looking for. We don't post our rentals, leases, and things that are typically outside of the Indianapolis area. It's actually a project of mine right now that I feel really proud to take on, is we are a growing brokerage. And so how do we expand beyond Indianapolis with listings on social media? So I'm formulating a couple of different plans for that. So it's something that's being worked on. But for right now, we're kind of sticking to our tried and true methods of Indianapolis, and then 100% on brand. What you're not seeing in Facebook and Instagram is we do a lot of boosting of posts to kind of help grow that listing and that post beyond like our typical norm of what we would receive. And then the other category where we are advertising is just regular ad buys within Facebook and Instagram. And those work really well. I would say we always have at least one running, if not two. I'm constantly A/B testing like what imagery works better, what language works better. So we're always fine tuning that process as well. The other space for brokerage marketing for you guys is digital beyond social and Instagram. So think Google. Our website is a marketing tool. It's a lead gen tool for us. And so we work in PPC and SEO all the time. And those are ever-changing landscapes as well. And then the other area that it's been kind of tough because of our current situation, right? COVID's just kind of slammed us, but is our network. We are always building out a network of businesses here in the Indianapolis and greater Indianapolis area, where we work with their HR teams or their business development teams to truly ask them like how we can help. They figure out work. They might be recruiting. And so how can we come alongside and say, you know, we know this city, we love this city, and we might be doing neighborhood tours for IU Health. I recently had a meeting with Roche Diagnostics to see how we could help and benefit their employee base. So that is a network that we're continuing to grow that will ultimately help grow the business as well. And then our location icon are all of our events, sponsorships, anything that we're doing out in the community, big or small. Tools and resources. This really kind of relates of like what the brokerage provides to you guys from a marketing standpoint. So one, you have Canva. I did not know Canva before I got here. It's an amazing tool. All of our colors, this PowerPoint was designed in Canva. All the tools and resources are there. And you can also go onto YouTube. There's a Canva channel on YouTube. There's all kinds of like how-to videos to create flyers and postcards. And there's also like a ton of stuff that's already been created for you guys that you can just kind of plug and play images and information. So really take advantage of that. I have Google Drive there. We do have a Google Drive. You guys have access to that. It has all of our brand guidelines. It has some like signage examples, all of those resources there for you. The one thing I'll hit on with signage, we really kind of give you guys free reign on all of your marketing material. Where we really kind of are a little, I don't want to use the word strict, but I'm going to, where we're strict and kind of hold the line are our signs. So that is kind of like a universal piece of signage for you and the brokerage. And we want those to be very uniform. So if you look at those signs, the top 2/3 are always the same. That bottom third can be more personalized to you. So obviously take advantage of that, but those are really strict. Where I think you can get really creative, and I'm seeing some amazing stuff coming from you guys, is the writers. The writers, gosh, you can brand the heck out of those to be you. And I would strongly encourage you guys to do that as well. And then lastly is print resources. They're a company here locally, just out on East 16th Street. Our contact there and everyone there is fantastic. But that's where we can get everything printed. You guys can print, you can send a Canva file to them. They can deliver that here to the brokerage. We're furthering our partnership with them, more to come on that. But they're a fantastic resource. And you also probably saw here maybe a month or so ago, Like if you guys had a piece of like an article of clothing and you wanted to have it embroidered, like a one-off, you could take it there and they would do that for you for a minimal fee. So more to come there with print resources, but know that it's an amazing resource that we as a brokerage really trust. I'm actually going to pause here really quickly. Does anyone have any questions for brokerage marketing and tools and resources before we move on? No? Okay. Okay, so I read a lot of Dr. Seuss. I have 2 kids at home that are pretty young. So you guys have probably heard this line before. You are youer than you. Ultimately be yourself. So your personal kind of self and how your brand relates to you and the world that you live in. A lot of these things I know you all are doing, but I think it's a really good time to kind of pause and reflect and make sure that we're on point. So this first space, a question for everybody. I know that we help set up your Platt Collective profile, whether it's myself or Michelle, but is it complete? Steve Lunsford and I have had a couple of conversations about this. Like, unfortunately with REW, your profile can't have paragraph form. So I know Steve is going in and actively kind of like changing up his profile on the back end so that it looks a little bit like tidier for his self and what he wants to put out there to potential clients. So is your Platt Collective profile complete? You can always go back on the back end of the website, log in, go into your edit and start editing your profile. If it's not kind of, now that you're seeing it in a live space, just make sure that it's exactly what you want it to be. And then I would also encourage you, if you have other profiles or want other profiles, Zillow, Realtor.com, making sure that those profiles are complete. Have your photo. I always say that, like, for an agent, you know, you guys have your logo, but you're out and about, like your face is your logo. So make sure that you've got the right photo that you want. Make sure that your copy's on point. That is your brand, if you will. Think of it as like your manifesto. Next, like, what's your game plan, your strategy, your goal? I know we talk about this a lot. I know I've done a lot of reflection during COVID to kind of see how our game plan for the brokerage and my own personal game plan, how I've had to kind of pivot and shift that. I would encourage you guys, if you haven't done so, actually, like, I can't see, but anyone care to share, like, have you pivoted? Have you taken time to kind of rethink your strategy and your goal for 2020 and 2021? Does anyone care to share?
Come on, Steve Lunsford. I know you got an answer in you.
I was going to say, Steve, I already picked on you once, but I know you've probably spiced things up a little bit.
Always. Yeah, I mean, I only implemented my own branding at the beginning of this year in February when I came over to Platt. So I've done a lot of work to proliferate that out and try to get that that out there. So and I'm happy with the way it's come out.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah, you know, next step is kind of figuring out what I'm starting to already think about next year, and you know, how I scale a little bit. So unfortunately, I haven't had too much time to think about that the last couple of months. So
I know you've been busy. Steve, do you mind me asking if for you to share with the group, did you create your own logo or did you outsource that?
I outsourced that. One of my very good friends did it for me as a favor. He actually happened to work on the Platt logo as well.
Yeah.
But there are other tools out there like 99 Designs, though. I mean, where you just basically crowdsource a logo. It's not terribly expensive to do, and it gives you a lot of options.
Oh.
So good. Silva, I know you're on the call too, and you have put a ton of work into creating your brand. Can you talk a little bit about what that's been like for you? Or maybe you're just listening / also doing something else. So sorry for calling you out, and we'll get back to you later. Emily, over to you.
Agree. Silva has put a lot into it as well. And if you guys haven't had a chance to check out her stuff, or if you just want to chat with Steve or Silva, they both have done a fantastic job. Okay, next up, know your competition. I think this is a no-brainer, but seriously, it will make you even stronger as a realtor to kind of know like who you're up against, the market that you're up against. Like it is so important to know your competition, because you know your strengths, and you also know we all have weaknesses, right? It allows you to kind of really evaluate yourself like 360, so you are very quick to pivot to kind of take your competition head on. It's a really healthy conversation to kind of have with yourself and write down the pros and cons or strengths and weaknesses, and then relate those to what you're working towards, which is your goals and your game plan. But if you don't know your competition, like you're kind of missing that component. So I really encourage you to kind of see like, whether you think of it as like the neighborhood that you work in or the area that you work in, really know just like what's going on. And your competition may not even be another realtor. Your competition may be a builder. Your competition may be something that's going on in that neighborhood that you have to help overcome. And that's where we kind of talk about being one for the city, and making the best change positive. So like, how can you overcome any of those obstacles? Guys, this next one, gosh, it doesn't have to be a thank you. It doesn't have to be, it could just be a simple like checking in. Get out of email, get out of social media. The power of a handwritten note is leaps and bounds, just incredible to receive. And taking the time to write that and really connect with whomever it may be. I'm not even talking about just like your client base. It could be, you know, someone that is a small business owner and you're checking in on them and just showing like that you care. The power of a handwritten note, people won't forget that. And that is super, super powerful for all of you. This next slide, you guys are probably gonna be like, what in the world? But everything we just went through, we talked about yourself, like making sure your profiles are complete, your game plan, your competition, handwritten notes, like making all of that done. But ultimately, like, to me, this is the hardest thing that we all have to do right now. It's super hard for me, especially given our current like circumstances. Your energy is a big part of who you are. So whether you're meeting with a client for the first time, you're in a team meeting, you're going to a closing, like whatever it is, your energy is really like showing who you are. And I'm sure several of you guys saw this. I know I did, and it spoke volumes to me. And I was so proud that one of our partners put something up like this in all of the entry points into their hospitals statewide. I'm just going to go ahead and read it. Please take responsibility for the energy you bring into this space. Your words matter, your behaviors matter, our patients and our teams matter. Take a slow, deep breath and make sure your energy is in check before entering. This, like I said, it just really resonated, and our energy, we could have everything set up, but then when people meet us or they observe us, if I am at the soccer park or the baseball park and they, you know, people are watching you and they kind of learn who you are as a person, and they want to work with you because of how they see you in real life, right? So I just kind of throw this out. I know this is always a work in progress for all of us, but just kind of know like your energy and how you present yourself is really important as well. But I think it is harder than the other things that we've already covered here today. So I just put that out there for kind of food for thought. Okay, we are getting ready to go into like the actual marketing and advertising kind of space. And I want to see like if there are any questions, comments, concerns before we get into that. So as Mark Nottingham would say, I'm going to pause and open it up for questions here. And care to share about any of this that's been covered before we kind of move on to the next piece. Anybody got anything that they would like to comment or share on? Okay. All right, I'm gonna move on here, kind of this last component. Marketing, gosh, there's a lot. There's really a lot that we can all do. There's a lot of areas that you can cover. But I think honestly, between what we just covered with your own self and what you can actually spend and do out in the world, I think the biggest thing that you all need to remember is to be authentic. Kind of goes back to like, you are you. No one else can be you. And if it's not authentic, people will see right through it. So just be who you are. It's what makes you amazing, what makes you a part of this team. So be authentic no matter where you are and what space you're working in, because yeah, people will see it right through it and it will ultimately hurt you in the long run. So I think a lot of people naturally, when they're like, oh, marketing, like social media, we're all guilty of it. But I think more importantly, it's how you're using social media. So some of you have personal pages that you still conduct business through, right? It's your personal, it's who you are. It's also your business. And that's totally fine. You can do that. I would just say it's make sure you have like a healthy mix and you're not skewing one or the other. I would also say if you find yourself skewing one or the other, maybe it's time to go ahead and start a business page. I know several folks have done it. One that stands out, I'm just calling on people since I can't see you guys. I don't even know if Phil's on the call. Phil Kirks, his business Facebook page is great. He's done a fantastic job. There's several teams that have their team Facebook pages. They're all amazing. I would encourage you to check them out if you haven't seen them. I know several of you also use your business Facebook page as kind of your website, if you will, where you push people to go and check you out and learn more about you, and that's totally fine. Your Platt profile, as you guys know, underneath like your profile, it can link directly to your Instagram, your Facebook. It will also go directly to, like, if you have a YouTube account that you want to put on there, Pinterest and LinkedIn. Right now as a brokerage, we only put Facebook and Instagram, but if you want to sign into the back end of your profile, and scroll about halfway down, you can add in the link to Pinterest, YouTube, and LinkedIn as well. And there's nothing wrong with that. So we just do it from a brokerage standpoint with those first two. So kind of thumbs up, thumbs down. Social media is tough because there's a lot of noise. There's a lot of clutter. So you're really always trying to like push your message out. And that can be really challenging. It's challenging for us as a brokerage. So I'm always kind of like this, like, it's not here, it's not here, it's like, because there's so much going on and you're trying to get out of that space. I think there's a world where you sit down about, kind of goes into your game plan, right? If you can give yourself the time, you don't even have to do the daunting like full year. Take it month by month or 2 weeks by 2 weeks and plan out a calendar for like what you want your content to be. you can have your listings, you can talk about specific neighborhood, you could, if there's a cause that is important to you that you want your clients to know about, think about the content that you want to be on your page. It will help you and kind of guide you so that you don't have to always be thinking about it. It's just done ahead of time in advance. So yeah, social media is a tough space. As you kind of go down to the next bullet point there, digital or traditional spending, this weaves into social media. Guys, it's tough right now. Like, I'm super proud of Facebook and Google for their discrimination laws and really putting the nose to folks into specifically industries, but unfortunately real estate's one of them. Most of you might already know this. Facebook kind of went out ahead of the game, and they now have their special ad categories. So if you're going to do an ad buy on social media, you have to select a category. Obviously it's housing. Housing, you cannot discriminate. It's, you used to be able to say, well, I only want to target 25 to 35-year-olds in this zip code. Well, those days are long gone. We now have to go 18 to 65 plus. And we're basically looking at a diameter or a perimeter of Indianapolis, and you can select how many miles you want to go out. But that's about it. Like, you can't get very targeted anymore on Facebook, also on Instagram. Instagram's owned by Facebook, and now with Google. You guys probably saw, following along in the news, that Google came out and followed suit I don't even think it's been a month ago. So Google Ads, again, in that digital sphere of spending, I do think they're important, but you have to be willing to say, like, this is, my megaphone's only going to get me so far, because we're all kind of looking and working in these pods. So I just think knowing that, but then also, I alluded to this earlier from a brokerage standpoint, don't be afraid to test the imagery that you're using. Don't be afraid to test the copy that you're using. I can tell you, it really stands out in my mind. One of the first A/B tests that I did with imagery, I used a picture of a kitchen, like kind of open floor concept, but it was gray and white. There wasn't a lot of color. It was beautiful, just not a lot of color. And then I used image, again, open floor concept, very pretty, but there was like navy blue tones and there were like other pops of color. Can anyone guess like which one of those images actually worked better? Can someone guess for me? No? Okay.
I feel like white is like all the rage, Emily. So my first, like, everything that's on social media is white and bright and very neutral, but I tend to be drawn towards the colors. So I'm going to guess the colored one.
Jess Martin, God love you. Yes, the navy blue and like pops of other color, it literally was outperforming this beautiful, clean, open floor concept, gray and white picture. I mean, it outperformed it. It was amazing. And so now, like, I don't think that's like a forever norm, but as you guys, like, because I'm with you, Jess, like, I would have been like, oh yeah, this is totally the image that I should use, but I'm going to go ahead and throw this one up against it and see what happens. If you guys are spending in any type of digital advertising, the photo is really important, and I would encourage you to test those out and kind of see like what it is. Obviously, when you're actually like the listing photos, right? Like I believe in real estate world, the first photo has to be an exterior shot, but when you're advertising, you can do whatever you would like. So it doesn't always have to be an exterior shot. It could be an interior shot. It could be exterior if you want it to be. It doesn't have to be the front of the house. Maybe it's like this amazing oasis in the backyard. It kind of mix that up and look at it, and then also go with your copy and look at your copy and see what works and what doesn't. Okay, So again, digital, traditional, there's all kinds of spaces. I threw out a few. I know a lot of you do postcard mailers. Again, like think about what you're putting on that. I'm a firm believer, less is more. Obviously you want a call to action and you want contact information, but after that, think about aesthetically what it is looking like, what imagery are you using, and what minimal copy are you using. Same with flyers. Again, I pointed out earlier with Canva, there's a lot that have been pre-built. Less is more. You're looking for those beauty shots, and then a simple CTA, information, keep it short and sweet and simple, and you'll be good. Zillow, Google, those are all kind of like your digital spaces. They're very powerful, but they do work. Obviously, you're going to use, and I would also encourage you, like if you're thinking about spending in those areas, have a game plan, know what you're doing. Is it just self-promotion? Are you looking to capture leads? If you're looking to capture leads, make sure that you're pointing them in the right direction, and that you're capturing that information. If you're looking just like new agents and you just really want to promote your brand and who you are, that's great as well. But where are you pointing them to learn more about you? Is that your Google business profile? Is that your Platt Collective profile on the website? So you just really kind of want to know like which area you want to focus in. And there's so much and you can get super overwhelmed. So I would encourage you to start small, and kind of pick one or two mediums that you really want to be in and grow from there. It's really easy to get overwhelmed. So you've got to be willing to flex and pivot if it's not working, but you also need to be willing to kind of stay in that space for at least a quarter, to see if it's going to work for you. And if it's not working, I think a quarter is a really good time frame to say, okay, I tried it these 3 months. I didn't see success in certain areas. I'm not going to do those anymore. Maybe I back off my spending a little bit and I come over here and pivot. So just flexibility is key.
I don't know if you can see the chat, but just dropped something in there that I thought was really interesting. Jess, you got 3 listings this year from postcards. Can you tell me, like, what do you do? Like, who do you send postcards to? Is that targeted? Talk more about that.
Yeah, so we send postcards more in those neighborhoods where we tend to work the most. So we're trying to get people in those neighborhoods to know our brand. So downtown, Meridian, Kessler, anytime we have a listing, we send out a new listing postcard to the nearest. I think we only do about 150 neighbors. So not that big when you're considering what a lot of people do with mailers. And then we also send out solds for those same listings. So we're just canvassing the neighborhood, and if they're seeing our postcards, every month and a half, they begin to know our brand and our name. And so those have typically just been neighbors that have called us and said, hey, I got your postcard. We're looking to sell. I know you work in our neighborhood. Or we've also done a few mailers, a few postcards for people. We had buyers that were looking in very specific neighborhoods or very specific condos downtown. So we would send a postcard out. There were no listings that met their criteria, or they looked at everything and couldn't find what they wanted. And this market can be really rough for buyers. So we just sent a postcard out to everyone in that building or in that community and said, hey, we have a buyer looking in your neighborhood. Please contact us if you're looking to sell. We always put a disclaimer out on the postcard. You're required to, that this is not solicitation if you have your property currently listed or you have a contract with a realtor. So that's important to know.
Jess, can you kind of speak about just the process of those postcards, and if you care to share the budget on those postcards?
Yeah. Well, anyone that knows me knows that I tend to be very tight with my budget. I always want to save if possible. So I do not use a company to do our postcards or our mailers. We don't pay a service for those. I use Canva to create those postcards. At this point, it's really easy just to drag and drop any new photos from a listing because we have them set up kind of a standard template. And then we use Realist. So it's a free resource that every agent has. So we get into Realist and we search the tax records for a neighborhood. You can just draw just like you do on Matrix. You can draw a boundary and you can grab all of those addresses and the names of the people who are the owners. And you can hit print mailing labels. So we have the postcards sent to us, we print the mailing labels and stick postcard stamps on them, which I think are 35 cents a piece.
Yep.
Our team admin has this down at this point. So she does all of those for us. And I think all in all costs us probably around like $40 per listing to send out mailers.
That's fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you said you got 3 listings off of your postcards this year?
Yeah.
So we're doing...
Yeah, the return on that is pretty good.
Yeah, they work. And that's the other, guys, postcards, like, am I gonna like push postcards? I push what works for you. So I'm gonna say, like, yeah, I think if you guys sit down and you come up with your game plan and you're like, man, like digital is just kind of a hot mess and there's so much clutter. Guess what? No one gets mail these days. So going back to like your personal kind of profile makeup, the power of a handwritten note, the power of a traditional piece of advertising like a postcard is not going to hurt you. It's obviously just as case in point, like it's going to help you. So be flexible. And don't be afraid to try something because you never know what may work and what may stick and ultimately create new business for you. Okay, so this next one, gosh, it's been hard. 2020 has been really hard in this space. Events, community partnerships, neighborhood gatherings, we all do them, we all love them. In a normal year, we would try to be at as many of them as possible, right? It has been hard to not be able to be like face-to-face settings and doing these types of events. However, there are folks, I'm actually working, Newfields, guys, is still, because of the acreage that they have harvest and winter lights coming up at the end of 2020. And they've been green-lighted to move forward because the way they already ticket people in times, and then they're all outdoors and they can spread people out over their campus. We have wanted as a brokerage to engage with them for about a year now. And we're in chats with them about, how can we position ourselves to be a part of those events? So that's really early. Don't get too excited. It's really hard for me not to get too excited. But know that some folks are still doing them. And then a lot of folks have taken their events to a digital space. I am super happy to share with you that from a brokerage standpoint, we have a partnership with Indie Hub and their Indie Evolved event. This would have been the 15th year for it. Normally takes place in June at the downtown library. And it is every single not-for-profit who you can think of in town is there. And for young business professionals, think like early 20s to mid 30s, goes and they can see how they can get involved in the Indianapolis community. They can interview, they can talk with these nonprofits and kind of see what they stand for. Well, they've taken that entire event digital and it is going to run the entire month of September. And they did a similar event. They did a digital summer camp the month of July, where normally in a year for Indie Evolved, they would have like 6,000 attendees for all of their events. guys, they had 20,000 people tune in for their summer camps in July. They were all digital. It was incredible. And their game plan for Indie Evolved going digital in the month of September, which Platt I'm super happy will be a part of. It is going to be awesome. We are doing a digital series where we'll be out kind of like we'll be live from like a neighborhood each Tuesday and Thursday morning in September. And then we'll just kind of introduce Platt and the neighborhood that we're in. And then we'll kick it to 4 not-for-profits who will speak to kind of their business and what they have to offer and how people can get involved. It's going to be a great series. I'm super proud of it. So know that it hasn't gone away completely, and there's still a space where you can be actively involved. I also encourage you on the flip side that just because they're not happening doesn't mean, again, handwritten thank you note or handwritten note. Reach out to the people that you would normally partner with, check in on them, ask them how they're doing, tell them you want to be involved in 2021 when we can start doing events again. It shows that you're thinking about them and that you're top of mind, and then it's a deeper partnership, which is only going to be good for you, right? So I encourage you to still kind of be actively involved if you can, and certainly if you feel comfortable. But then if that doesn't work out for you, reach out and just kind of let them know and let them hear from you as well. Okay, this last piece, it is colorful. It's purposely colorful. This is an area where I am super pumped for the brokerage. I think all of you should be super excited, and you should certainly do it. I read a lot of Forbes. I read a lot of like Harvard Business Review. We as a brokerage, so we've had our Google business account. We have 40 reviews. We're like 4.8 stars, which is great. You actually don't want to be at 5 because it doesn't seem authentic. But we have 40 reviews. I would love it if we were a lot more, and here's why. Harvard Business Review came out with an article in like May of 2020. Take a guess at how many people, the percentage of people who read reviews, and then the percentage of people who make a decision off of the reviews that they read. Does anyone care to guess what those percentages are?
70%.
What'd you say, Rosie?
70%.
Okay, close. 87% of people read at least 3 reviews on a business, a person, a product, a thing, a whatever. 93% of people make their decision on that person, product, thing. 93% of people will make their decision based on those reviews that they read. That is wild to me. So I am encouraging everyone to make sure you have a Google business account. It's free. You can go and set up your Google business account, and then always, always, always ask for a review. So think about, it's very similar to like our private Facebook page. You guys are constantly saying like, I need a plumber, I need a this, I need a painter. You're asking for reviews. Google does it for you for free, and the consumer doesn't have access to our private Facebook page. So set up your Google account, get reviews at closing, just like when there's all this paperwork, right? Just ask for a review. Or the following day, like follow up and thank them and ask them for a Google review. People will start Googling you. They Google the brokerage, and if you don't want to have an account, you can always just push them to the brokerage to write a review. We share those on our on social. We share those on the bottom of our website as well. We always have 2 featured, and we rotate those through. But it is super powerful. Think of how many times you've needed something and you've Googled and you see the reviews over there and you're like, oh, that company is not good. I'm not going with them. and then you read another company and you see some reviews. It's super powerful. I would encourage you to read some of those articles to kind of see the power behind it. And I'll also say, like, we've had negative reviews before. Negative reviews make you human. They make you more authentic. It's just super important to reply to them very quickly, and acknowledge that person and what they're feeling. We talk a lot about having grace. Have grace with that person. But if you just keep that negative post and review there and don't respond to it, that's actually kind of like going to hurt you. But Google reviews, I think we all need to have those accounts, or if you don't want those accounts, at least push them to Platt and start getting those reviews, because it's going to help us. When you think about 87% of people are reading at least 3 reviews before they make a decision, and then 93% are making their decision off of the reviews, those are big numbers. So that is kind of like my new thing I would encourage you all to do. I think it's really going to help you. So I am going to stop sharing my screen and see if there's any other questions, comments, anything, chat. Am I all caught up in here? Awesome. Okay. Yeah, it looks like we're caught up on the chat. If there's anything else, guys, I'm always here. I know Rosie will send this out later for the group, but I love chatting about marketing. I think it's super fun. There's a lot going on, but you have to have your game plan first and kind of see what you're going to do and then tackle it from there. So anything?
Thanks,
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
appreciate it. Guys, we have no training tomorrow, and then we start up next week on Monday, again through Thursday. I believe first session is Jess Martin teaching us about buyers and purchase agreements. So hope to see you then. Have a good one.
Yeah.